So without any further delay, let me start by introducing Margot Murphy. So what you'll see, the first 5 or 6 points there, that's Margot's background. Margot is an inspirational leader, an author of the Vitalize Your Workforce, and the basis of that book is what is powering the research. So we're looking at a year of research, 130 seminars, 17 states, covering 8 topics, 2,400 participants. I mean, this just touched all ages, levels, industries, jobs, every sector. So I think that we're very privileged and lucky to have someone like Margot providing this kind of insight at no cost. So thank you, Margot. I'm going to hand over to you.
All right, thanks. All right, so welcome everybody, and looking forward to a dialogue today and afterwards. And the question is, who are we? We're a team of proven executives, and we have experience in 20 industries, but we understand leading through chaos, and we certainly are in chaos today. And we understand the importance of having a loyal workforce to follow us, to work with us, to lead into the future, because without it, we can't do anything. So the question is, why are we here today? Well, the last 2 decades, Gallup has promoted the idea of 85% of employees are not engaged. And that means, if you really think about it, that there is lack of engagement, there's stagnant human potential on every floor, on every level, in every function, in every company, everywhere. And that is incredibly painful. And that's what we are out to help change that. The situation is intolerable, and it's still unsolved after 2 decades. So we have a voice, and we have a solution, and we're happy to share it with you today. And we're just going to say lack of engagement is not the problem. So what we're going to do today, I'm going to go through what some of our challenges are to set the platform, the premise. I want to talk a little bit about what it means to transform from business as usual to vitality leadership, introduce the idea of 7 required core skills. And then we're going to introduce Dr. James Robertson to talk about the importance of measuring and our vitality measurement system. And then we're going to introduce Dan Vogel, who is our on-the-ground lead. He implemented the principles and practices in the book in the large Glacier National Park in Montana for 3 years, and I think you'll find that really, really interesting. So let's get started.
Margot, is your auto thing not working? I had given you remote control access.
Okay, there it goes.
Okay.
All right.
Good. Right.
We're talking about chaos today. Boy, there is certainly a lot of it. And there are tons of unknowns. The pandemic, banking, Bitcoin, technology, market speed. You're familiar with all of that. But the result of that is tremendous fear, confusion about job loss, income stress, and most employees, no matter what level and no matter what job function, are really concerned about their own personal future. Their futures are in question. So when we take a look at the workforce today, we need to, and we're thinking about moving forward as leaders. The question is, who is your workforce today? Do you know where they are? After the pandemic, there are a lot of states that don't have enough people who want to come back to work. And if they do come back to work, are the right skills coming back to work? What kind of gaps are there going to be? Now, from the employee perspective, the question is, why return? Why? And if I do return, why stay? So let's take a look at now what. Well, you need answers, and that's for sure. Business as usual is gone. It is, and it has been gone for a while, and today it's just changing daily. Millions of dollars have been invested to solve this idea of employee lack of engagement to absolutely no avail at all. People have changed the color of the walls in their buildings, changed parking lots, provided daycare, but it hasn't solved the fact that people aren't engaged. And how do you lead people who aren't engaged? So employee retention and skill evolution are mandatory. They have risen up to the top of the focus for all leaders everywhere. Some of the statistics you may be familiar with are 50% of organizations globally have difficulty retaining employees, and it's getting worse. 43% leave for a 10% increase in salary. That's not very much, but it also says, why are they leaving for a 10% increase in salary? It may be because they don't feel like they have a future with you. Think about that. And then when we go to replace those employees, 36% reduction in productivity by hiring the wrong employees. So we have to pay attention. So a lot of CEOs are really bored with the topic. I can go to a meeting and say, I want to talk to you about employee retention, and they just gloss over and look the other way because it has been around for so long and nothing's happened. But there are a lot of really progressive thinking executives and managers who are saying, I am proactively looking for new solutions. They have to be out there somewhere. Well, hello, we're here and we're ready. As I said, that you can't solve lack of engagement because it is a symptom, just like a cold. You can't, cold or anything else medical, you can't solve a symptom, you have to get to the cause. Now, the real problem for employee lack of engagement is employee personal stagnation. So what does that mean? It means that employees are busy, but they don't have any sense of personal future working where they are. They see their future as outside, not inside. A very common sentence and a very common conversation is, I really don't like it here. I only stay for the benefits. And so you know what that is? That's internal welfare thinking. Get as much as I can, leave as early as I can. I don't really care. You can't lead an organization up over the next hill in the 2021s with a workforce that doesn't care. Another point is that personal stagnation is pervasive everywhere. It is unseen, it's unaddressed, and it's costly. And the other point is that the causes of stagnation are really common across organizations. So let's take a look at 6 of them. The one that comes up the higher on the top when I talk to groups of employees and workforce is end of year appraisals. Oh, it is deadly. And what the answer is, oh, end of year appraisals are absolutely useless. There's zero incentive. It's a big joke. When they talk about doing end of year appraisals, we know it's only for HR accounting. So I just nodded and I walked the other way and I go back to doing what I was doing. That's an indication of a need for change. How about no people leadership? That was the second. People leadership in managers, 52% of managers really don't know who's in their organization. Managers get promoted into manager positions because of their education, not because of their people leadership skills, often are myopic or have their view on another job, and they aren't trained, they aren't expected to do people leadership. Forbes magazine had 3 or 4 articles in this past 6 months about, do we need managers at all? Because they don't do people leadership. So an indication from the employee side, I'm just a number. I just know I'm just a number. My boss spoke to me only twice this year, and once he called me by the wrong name. Indication, we need a change. Low problem solving. 92% of employees want to leave organizations, want to leave departments where the manager doesn't solve problems. If 92% want to leave in 6 months and they go to another department and they find another one that doesn't solve problems, 78% want to leave the entire organization in 2 years. That doesn't do an awful lot for employee retention. Again, really clear indication of the need for change. Rewarding education versus talent. We have a lot of enormously talented people who couldn't afford to go to college, who are very bright, who are trained outside in their hobbies, etc. But they come in and they're stuck in a space and they can't go any further because it's rewarding education versus talent. And the other one is job hasn't changed in years. I came in 6 years ago. I wanted to be over there. They put me over there and they said they'd be back in 3 months and change me and give me a career path. Nothing's changed. I just come in, bored to tears, do my work and go home because I'm only here for the benefits. Indications of a need for change. So let's take a look at post-pandemic. What's the impact? The new experience working from home. Don't take it lightly. Employees have now had many opportunities to earn more money more quickly online than working in an organization. And when they're online and they're working from home, there's intense shared learning. It's very proactive. It's very dynamic. And they're communities, and there's a way to have a mentor, there's a way to get information, there's a way to move forward, and so you always feel like you're moving. And there are no degrading end-of-year personal evaluations, and there are no limitations. So all of that said, think of the employee saying, why should I return? What am I returning to? Am I returning to the same old thing? And if I do go back, why should I stay? Now, this may seem like a funny diagram, but it is actually a graphic depiction of an iceberg. And what do you see on top? The red arrows are employees, and the iceberg obviously is that on the top is your vision, your mission, your action, your top runners that you see. But what's underneath? This is the drag in your organization. This is the true dragon. We really need to do something to change this entire dynamic. These are the sources of your negative KPIs, poor problem solving, personal stagnation, high unwanted turnover, and more. Employees are on their way out. They're not looking back. They want to find something else to do, and we need change. So let's take a look at what it takes to transform from business as usual and stagnation to vitality leadership. And then the 7 required core skills. Vitality leadership has to start at the top. It takes executive vision, executive custody, and a commitment to changing the organization culture, and management leadership of the entire workforce from business as usual to vitality leadership. It has to start at the top. Transformation cannot be driven from the middle. HR is highly important. They're very important and do a dynamic job in administration. Transforming the potential of employees from stagnant to vitality leadership, they're not trained for it. So we need to start at the top. And the next point, the vitality leadership must be a company-wide goal. Anything less than company-wide, the employees know that it's just practice. And they know it and they won't care. What do I mean by practice? Practice is, here's a program. I saw this piece of this program, and I'm going to try it over here in this function. And we're just going to see how it works for a while. And if it works, fine. And if it does work, we'll put it across the rest of it. That never works. By the time anybody sees that if it has or hasn't worked, the whole organization has moved on. So we're talking about vitality leadership being a company-wide commitment and a goal. And vitality leadership, and you'll see shortly, is measurable, it's sustainable, it's easy to understand, and it's trackable. It evolves workforce culture from the inside out. There's no big fanfare, no big announcements, but once it gets rolling, because it's integrated incentives and self-reinforcing systems, that it evolves the workforce culture from the inside out. It instills portable skills, self-reinforcing programs, and really key, progressive experiential reward and opportunity toward the future skill or the future talent of choice for the employee. Let's take a look at that. Vitality leadership for employees. These are people in seats. The focus has to be on providing future skill training for your workforce while they work for you. What does that mean? It means that we now have to take, it can't just be, oh, you want to become an engineer, go over there, go outside and take another course, maybe. It is, you need to communicate as a company the future skill needs for your organization 5 years out. So they really see that there is a future, that you're involving them now in the future of the organization. As they, because they're gonna know technology is advancing. They're going to know a lot of things that are going on, but now you're going to involve them. Then you bring it in to 3 years out. So it begins to be tangible and saying, okay, these are stepping stones to get to the career I want. And then you bring it into 1 year, and then you collaborate with your employees to enlist their power of choice. Employees generally haven't had a choice in the future in an organization. There's a career, you can go to that company, you can go to here, you can get that degree, but now we're talking about a choice of involvement in the future, of their future, in your future, while working at the job every day. And it entails instilling training of the 7 required core skills for vitality leadership. And again, you're going to hear me repeat this: provide progressive experiential learning toward the career of their choice. Experiential learning is important. Going to a training on site or off site or online, that's fine. It's encapsulated. You might learn some new terms, you might learn some new concepts, you come back into your organization, nobody else knows it. So either you drop what you did and you don't never use it again, or you have to leave that department to be able to use what you just learned. Again, time for change. Let's take a look at emphasizing the importance of people leadership for managers. The 7 required core skills include tools that require involvement of managers to be people leaders with their employees, and the employee and the manager get credit toward vitality leadership in that interaction. So if we emphasize the importance of people leadership for managers, we need to reward managers that have people leadership and are learning people leadership, and we need to reassign those that are not participating in people leadership. No longer can they stay and take up space. So what are the required core skills? The required core skills for employees are vitality, problem solving, dynamic delegation, mentoring, appreciation files, meaningful recognition and reward, people leadership, and shared learning. And these are what I call the employee vitality generator. They are interrelated, self-reinforcing, continually self-reinforcing. There's continual skill opportunity and evolution, continual lasting win-win for the organization and the employee, and continual recognition and reward. No longer waiting till the end of the year to get evaluated by somebody who might not even know you and have it not mean anything. This is enormously present, continually self-reinforcing. So let's take a look at a view of future perfect. What's the difference between stagnation on the left, which I call it stagnation, but that's business as usual, and vitality leadership? On the left, we'll start at the top. It ignores natural talents. Vitality leadership rewards natural talents. Stagnation, low people leadership and managers. Vitality leadership means people leadership is a required core skill. Stagnation, low problem solving. Vitality leadership, problem solving is a #1 required core skill across the organization. So people can participate, be aware, be alive, participate in problem solving anytime, anywhere. In stagnation, delegation of boring work has generally been only for the people at the top that have staff or they have money to outsource it. Vitality leadership transforms delegation into a systematic training tool for the evolution of employee skills. Let's go stagnation, ineffective training for skill evolution. Vitality leadership, continual progressive experience based on initiative, personal initiative. Stagnation, one-time end-of-year appraisals. Vitality leadership, continual recognition and reward with progressive experiential learning that bypasses end-of-year appraisals and lets employees progress as fast as they can. And certainly the employee choice of target job and skills. So here we are back to our little diagram. And the diagram, again, the red is employees. And on the top, you see more cohesive, more strategic alignment of people in the direction you want to go. And what do you see underneath? You don't have as much drag. People are beginning to come back into the organization. They're beginning to realize it's a new day. It's actually a new day. You have an interest in their future. They see a reward for their personal initiative, which is very different than business as usual. People leadership is now important, and it's much more cohesive, empowered, motivated, and loyal and proactive. And we'll see another one of these later on, but you're going to see the change, and that's what we're doing. We're evolving change in your organization. So I'd like now it's time for Dr. James Robertson to discuss measuring and our vitality assessment measurement process.
Hi, so let me introduce James. Dr. James Robertson, a professional engineer, military commander, grounding in economics, and over 30 years executive consultancy experience. Strategic planning, thought leader, written hundreds of, if not thousands of articles. I'm busy working through them, reading them, and I find that absolutely fascinating. James, one of the best minds I've known. Strategic IT advisor. He's designed the Vitalize assessment tool, which we're going to show you in a second. And he's a leader on the Vitality Leadership Consulting team, the principal consultant. So James is a sharp mind. He's one of the top strategic people you'll ever meet. And he could certainly help with alignment. So James, I know what you're going to be talking about because I help with the slideshow, but I certainly think that it's worth mentioning to people that if you've got any problems of alignment where you feel that you've got people in the company pulling in different directions, James has got a systematic approach of how to get people to be on the same page. So without any delay, on to you, James.
Thank you, Darren. So over the years, we've developed an approach to engagements of this nature, where basically what we're seeking to do is to get clarity of the vision of the chief executive and the executive team, and use that to facilitate dialogue and workshops with the leadership team to gain alignment. That allows us to facilitate an organization vitality assessment. It allows us to do strategic action planning, and we can then implement the plan together with training and so forth. So the first thing that we do is what we call a pulse measurement. So these are one-on-one executive interviews with each member of the leadership team. It can be cascaded down to the next level of management. We facilitate this with proven questions, seeking to understand the essence of the business, the essence of the vitality and stagnation issues, and determine the critical success factors for the engagement. This results in a concise next steps action report. We then do a strategic snapshot, a workshop with the leadership team to determine the critical concerns regarding workforce vitality. We develop the 7 critical factors, the essence of the issues. We determine relative importance as a weighted percentage. We facilitate collaborative, inclusive, consensus building discussion. As Darren said, if your management team are not aligned, this will show it up and it will open the door for a constructive resolution of the issue. Highlights differences of opinion, allows us to align action and create a framework for action. Here's an example of one of the outputs of our process. What you see here is 4 delegates, 4 members of a leadership team. And you'll see, for example, here on communication, the first delegate, who's the sponsor, says 40% of what's important. The next 2 say it's only 15%. So there's a distinct misalignment there. At one level, it's quite okay for different members of the team to do things differently, but if you're trying to resolve things and formulate a way forward, it's not necessarily very helpful to go forward with that sort of level of difference. So here's an example, another organization. Sponsors the Chief Information Officer, brought in a few months ago because the department was not performing. Second in command, been there 25 years, major headbutting, major strife to the point where the 2IC was on the point of getting fired. We did the workshop, we highlighted major differences of opinion where there shouldn't have been differences of opinion. The approach allows you to confront that in a non-threatening, constructive manner. We did that, facilitated some meetings. They achieved a rapprochement and they worked very well together for the next 5 years until the company was taken over by an American multinational. In this case, the overall weights were adjusted to reflect the sponsors' weights and the others were overridden. And Paul worked well with the team to bring them into alignment with his view, which was based on doing a pulse measurement with the executive team. So a very, very powerful way of dealing with alignment, and very important at the start of the Vitalize process to identify where there's misalignment around the subject of vitalization and stagnation and to resolve that. Measuring vitality is really an imperative. If you cannot measure it, you cannot manage it. That was said by Peter Drucker. And we've designed a tool which has been designed from the ground up. It works for any size organization, corporate or individual assessments. It focuses attention on the real issues and it provides tailored solutions, not a one-size-fits-all situation. So accurate assessments allow accurate diagnosis of the problem. It allows you to formulate remedial measures to address the cause. It allows effective monitoring and progress tracking. And it proves that it's a myth that you can't measure soft issues. We place a lot of emphasis, as you would have seen with the weights that we looked at a few minutes ago. There we're putting measurements on soft issues. It's very, very effective, very, very powerful. Gives rise to really effective analysis. The tool is cloud-based in the USA with Amazon Web Services. It's accessible globally. It can be administered remotely. It has proprietary algorithms which we designed specifically for Vitalize. It measures stagnation and vitality at the level of business units and also at the level of individual personnel. It models the organization. We set up the entire hierarchy and consolidate up the hierarchy, and it gives graphical and tabular reports, and the identities of respondents are concealed. It's confidential. Here's an example of the output at a corporate level. So this is saying for this department, the yellow line is where they think they should be. The green is where they are. So there's not too much stagnation here, reasonably vitalized department in this case. Now looking at an individual, what we see here is their view of how they perform in an ideal work situation, how they perform in the current situation, and this is the level of tension that they're under. They're feeling repressed at the level of the gap between those two graphs. And you can roll that up for a department or for the whole organization. In conclusion, it's a flexible and powerful tool. It's the precursor to formulating a structured remediation plan. The various measurements provide immediate insight and immediate action can be considered. Over to you, Darren.
All right. Thank you, James. So it's because I know you're so familiar. It's James, Dr. Robertson. It's now I think this next part is one of my favorite parts, because it's Dan on the ground. It's him in a hospitality environment, which is his essence. And I think I think everyone's going to find this next section really enlightening. So let me introduce you to Dan Vogel. Dan Vogel, graduate diploma leadership, MIT, Columbia, and Dartmouth. He's a TEDx speaker and trainer, held positions in elected public office and director seats. His specialty is hospitality. He's a professional sommelier, prolific writer in the wine and hospitality industries. But as it relates particularly to what we're talking about for vitality leadership, he's directly applying the methods and the material from the book and from what we're endorsing here. He's done that throughout his organization, and he's going to explain that in a second. In total, he's trained over 2,000 staff, managers, and directors in the program, and he's one of the facilitators of our education platform. So let me go and hand over to Dan. Dan.
There you go. Probably should unmute myself. Thank you, everybody, for being a part of the program. And I'm different, as you see from the bio. What that really means, ladies and gentlemen, is that I'm a people person. And I deal with the not engineered, not carefully contrasted, not academically correct, real people, three-dimensional folks with personalities, with languages, with nationalities, with a tremendous amount of differences. And it's been my pleasure to both help develop the Vitality program, but truly to apply these concepts to the real people who exist within the lodges that I help manage. On the screen, you'll see actually one of our hotels. This is in northwestern Montana. This is a very large hotel, and the chaos and interest and the tumult of hospitality in there is very, very strong. As we developed the Vitality program, I was able to apply this entire process to all of my working groups. So here's a scale. So this isn't tried on like 7 people, and then we think, oh, this is a good idea. I have essentially 4 lodges. We see over 1 million guests a year. I have 900 employees, 7 countries, 14 languages. You can imagine what kind of complexion this is. Add to that when we open up, as we're going to begin tomorrow, as we open up these particular lodges, I have 5 days to take a team that you see on the screen here, 7 countries, 14 languages, in large scales. I have 5 days to craft professional teams out of these people. And you have got to do it right. And you have no extra time to do anything that isn't completely effective. So out of this particular project came the tale of 3 seasons. In the application of Vitalize to the actual working groups that I directly oversee and interact with, this is the story, and this is a true case history of everything that we've done here. In 2017, we had trouble, and real trouble. In any industry, you have years that you just go, gosh, this is just never going to end. 2020 might be something like that for you. We had unpredictability, we had poor performance, poor timing, our leaders were not accountable, and it really manifests itself in a frighteningly high termination rate. Out of the 300 people in one of my lodges, I think we terminated almost 100 over the course of the 100-day season, essentially 1 a day. And our retention fell down to 5%. So this is not a good working situation. And to this really rotten, because I have to tell you that the people part of this hurts. This is anxiety, this is emotional, this is anger, and this is dangerous. This kind of environment working here is not indicative of any sort of either returning employees or performance in any way, shape, or form. Everybody in 2017 was every man for himself. So we'll go to the next one there. In 2017, at the end of the season, we decided, all right, we're not going to do this again. And we applied then in our design and training of the particular lodge staffs, we applied directly the Vitalize Your Workforce concepts. We used the measurement tools that James has described. We used the approaches that Margot has described, and we applied them to the real life, sticky, sweaty, unruly people that we all work with in our really everyday lives. In 2018, at the end of that season, we went from 85 terminations in the one lodge to a total of 4 terminations across our entire organization. We had some people starting to shine as well. They were growing toward a set of goals, and they're taking everybody with them. The examples that we encouraged all of our staff to have and the leadership that we encouraged all of our staff to grow had direct, tangible, measurable results. And it's important to note that 2018 and 2017 had the very same physical environment. In my world, forest fires completely changed the complexion of the performance. Forest fires, smoke, those kind of damages, outright evacuations, any one of those things. And 2017 and 2018 were identical as far as fires, evacuations, all the tumult. And so 2018 started to rank as a real important success of the application of the Vitalize program because, just in those numbers, 85 to 4 is worth a lot of money and a lot of anxiety. So we'll go to 2019. After 2018, we went, okay, we're not pussyfooting around on this. Everything about the Vitalize program is going to be applied in spades to everything that we do. And so our training and development program came directly out of the Vitalize program. We added some corporate aspects to it, and we added some individual capacities. As we did that, we did this consistently across all of our lodges. And the immediately within 2019, the difference was remarkable. So in the early part of the season, all of the teams were firing all cylinders. Weather was able to be on our side. We didn't have any fires. We didn't have any sort of events like that. And so we were able to execute 2019 with a really unencumbered environment here. Everything was looking well for us. But as we applied this, the deeper and the higher performance we were able to see out of our staff. So we'll go on to the aftermath here. In 2019, at the end of the season, the actual results, and this is what's important for everybody on the call to really see, is that the results of these people's performance are remarkable. The working teams in the park returned a 90% retention rate. Remember, we've grown from 20, which is a national average, to a 90% retention rate. 90% of my employees said, I'm coming back, and they did. The business model and the financial projections that we are given corporately, as in any corporation, have a complete divorce from the actual people. We hit every single one of those particular objectives, and we did it with a staff who was delighted to do the job that they were doing. They were happy to be working with us. They were rewarded, they were recognized, they were aligned, and all of these things are what come out of the Vitalize program. Interestingly enough, that the other divisions within the lodge system that we're in experienced their normal set of high terminations and hidden costs. And so this wasn't that just magically by a wave of magic wand, this happened in all lodges. This happened in our teams because the architecture and the design of Vitalize Your Workforce as applied to the real people in our working groups. So that's January 2020. Now, everybody look back at where January 2020 was. When I actually wrote that, the world that we currently live in did not exist. So right after January 2020, our world and your world completely changed. So as we looked into the actual operation of 2020, most of the staff that I had, claimed the 90% retention rate actually was no longer employed. All of our operations received an enormous cut. Many of our lodges weren't open. Our entire staff was laid off. And so you would expect that in that situation, that the entire organization would just fall flat. And it didn't. The real lesson from the rest of 2020 is that when you instill these particular working characteristics in your teams, when you vitalize your workforce this way, it has a life of its own. And now, currently, as I'm sitting in my office here, I will begin my leadership training for this year tomorrow. Almost another 90% retention rate is what we've experienced. And we cannot keep people away from our particular working environments. So the actual aftermath shows that once you have this vitalized environment within your working teams, it will survive. It will survive without constant care and feeding. And once it has this kind of set of results, it creates belief. And once you have that belief, and that was mentioned, I believe, by Dr. Robertson, once we have the belief that our people are treated with dignity and respect, that they have challenge, that they will be mentored, that they have leadership opportunities, that we encourage them to be the very best at who they are, they will come back. And they will come back not only in good circumstances, they will come back when you need them the most. And that's right now. If we fast forward to today now, in here April of 2021, I have the unfortunate spot of having the instant replay of the reductions of our working groups. However, still, with all of my lodges, fully 90% of the people who are working with us have come back again and again. And they've come back with good faith. They have come back with their very best skills. They have come back to learn more, and they've come back to contribute as excellent employees and managers and leaders within our organization. And even though that's actually 5 seasons, those 5 seasons have shown that the particular Vitalize program is durable, it is applicable, it works. And once you do the actual commitment to creating the architecture of using these particular things, it will be a long time self-sustaining program that means you will be profitable. Thank you for listening.
Okay, I'm going to hand back to Margot to sort of sum it all up. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Dan. Thanks, Darren. So far, we've discussed the current chaos and the lay of the land, the challenges, and the fact that you need answers. You've got some identity and identification of what it means to transform from business as usual to vitality, the core skills. Vitality leadership resides at the top and for employees. There's a systematic approach and an importance to measuring vitality and the tale of 3 seasons. So moving right ahead, we need to get into the speed of solution, because this is the situation in the marketplace is not going to go away, and we need to be on target and fast. So the Vitalize methods are streamlined and time efficient. We focus on accurate 80-20 approach to accomplish most of the important things. We integrate and demonstrate people leadership from the top down in everything we do. We apply the solutions to address the causes of employee stagnation, and hence we change the results from the inside out. We evolve the whole workforce, not just one person at a time. We enable progress tracking and ROI, and it's consistent, sustainable, and replicable across the organizations. So let's take a look one more time. And this is actually the change in the iceberg. You no longer have a drag at the bottom. You have energy coming in. People want to stay. They're moving forward. They're moving up. So what do you see on the top? You see alignment and more action. What do you see underneath? You see momentum. People want to come and work for you. They want the opportunity to work for you. They want the opportunity to work more closely together. That's the community feeling that they felt working on the outside. Guess what? Now we are developing it on the inside, and people have a future working for you. And that in turn creates enthusiasm, loyalty, and action. And if we went on a little while longer, you would see that that arrow not only gets stronger, but the momentum to go straight up to lead your organization in the future with a dedicated, enthusiastic workforce is absolutely true. And as Dan said, it stays. So would like to invite you as next steps, work with us, call us. Let's talk about what your issues are. Let's talk about what your concerns are. Let's get a dialogue going. And we offer a full range of services, including executive consulting, measurement, strategic action programs, education and training, and vitality leadership certifications for employees, managers, and the organization as a whole. So let's take some, Darren, let's take some questions and see where we go. And listeners, take down our contact information. We are ready to talk with you anytime.
All right, Margot, so there's no questions in the chat, but I did get some questions from the previous webinars that I think I'm going to bring up that are pretty worthwhile and maybe useful. So this one would be, I think, for you, Margot. It says, I'm a departmental manager and would like to add vitality in my department. However, my boss is difficult to pin down, quite busy. Can I implement vitality principles in my department?
Absolutely. No question about it. You can start with having people understand what people leadership is and the 7 required core skills. The 7 required core skills embed, and they have a tool. They can be used as a tool to get the manager, encourage the manager to talk with the employee and vice versa, and both learn going forward. The employee gets to learn, for instance, on problem solving. There's a methodology in problem solving and a process, and the manager can help the employee expand their view on what the problem is, how to analyze it, where to go, and they both get credit for vitality leadership certification going forward. So it's a mutual beneficial win-win all the way around, and you can do that in any department.
Okay, James, I've got one for you here. It's this sounds great. How much does it cost?
The million dollar question. Well, the way we work is that we co-create the solution with your leadership team. So what that looks like in practice is that we'll come in for a day and do the pulse measurement that I spoke about. We'll meet with the chief executive, and then we'll meet with each of the other executive teams. Coming back to the question of a department, if we're doing it at the level of the department, we would start with the head of the department and then with the other members of the department leadership team. Either way, we will understand what the essence of the business is. We will understand what the critical concerns are with regard to stagnation, and we'll understand what the critical success factors are for a successful outcome. We'll then consolidate that into a concise report, and on the basis of that investigation, we will work with you to co-create the solution. So the next step is the strategic snapshot workshop, which is another day. And in that, we will work with the executive team to formulate what the critical success factors are for the future, what the critical concerns are. And out of that, we will work up a high-level action plan. That action plan will be worked out with your executive team in terms of how we're going to change the status quo. Once we've done that, we're in a position to give you a headline estimate of the costs, and we'll do that in such a way that you work with us to determine how you do it. Because the nature of this thing that we're talking about, and it's fairly common to most forms of consulting, is that you get basically three types of organization in this sort of thing. A third of the organizations typically just won't get it. They'll listen to everything, they'll nod their heads, and they'll walk away and not do anything about it. A third of the organizations will look at it, so that makes a lot of sense. I think I understand what needs to be done. And a third of the organizations will say, okay, that makes a lot of sense, but I think we need a bit of help. Can you help us? So I can't tell you how much it's going to cost until I've done that first piece of work. But to put that in some sort of a context, we have a special at the moment, which will run to the end of June, that if you engage with us in the next couple of days and set up workshops to be done by the end of June, we will do a 2-day engagement for $2,000. So that's a highly discounted rate, very special, just as an opener for people that we're dealing with right now. So that would be $2,000 for 2 days, $1,000 for the pulse measurement, $1,000 for the strat snap. Under normal circumstances, the price would be way higher than that, but this allows us to work with you and co-create the solution. So by the time we've got to the end of that second day, you will have a good understanding of what needs to be done, and we will be arriving at a price that you're comfortable with.
I think a follow-up question is, what size organizations do you consult for?
We'll work with any size organization. The bigger the organization, the more intense and more diverse the level of engagement. The assessment tool will work with any size organization. So pretty much whatever your organization is, we can help you. Just let us know.
And then Margot, I've got two here for you. Do you work in every sector? And second one is, how does this differ from typical culture transformation initiatives?
Yeah, we do work in every sector. The book itself is Vitalize Your Workforce, Conquering the Crisis of Employee Stagnation. It can be Vitalize Your Workforce in medical, Vitalize Your Workforce. And so, yes, we work in almost every sector, and glad to do that. What was the second question?
Second one is, how does it differ from the typical, as you hear about these culture transformation initiatives?
Oftentimes people will come in and talk about culture transformation, and they want to change the logo, and they want to change the look. They want to change the outside. They want to change, they want to make people happy. There's actually a great group that is called Happy, and it is to make the employees happy. But happy doesn't necessarily breed and mean that they are going to be loyal, enthusiastic, and just involved in your organization and moving forward with you. And so what we want to do, we want to be real. It's time now. I think I started out and I said, we're not here for hot air. We're here to make a difference. We're here to be extremely practical, very on the ground, very doable, very trackable. And so that you not only can implement it easily, but that you can track it and get your own results consistently and quickly. And so we're the practical people.